Why Mimi Got a Puppy. Written and read by J.P. Duchesne. Illustrated by Charlene Biron. Like a lot of girls and boys, Mimi had always wanted a puppy. Knowing this, Mimi's husband Pierre often referred to their two Bengal kitties as puppies, which was kind of silly and made Mimi laugh. It was true that Samson and Titan were more like puppies than kitties in some ways. They would usually come when called, they were very good at walking on their leashes, and they loved going for car rides. In fact, the kitties even went along when Mimi and Pierre volunteered to help out in a clinic in Senegal, Africa for a few months. Mimi loved canoeing, camping, and hiking, and since Mimi didn't have a puppy to take with her, the kitties would often come along on these trips. While camping one long weekend, Mimi noticed that she was seeing double in her left eye. During a short bike ride a few weeks later, Mimi's vision became blurry. She of course decided to see some doctors about all of this. Pierre would always remember the day when, after her doctor's appointment, Mimi sobbed out the devastating news. This could be MS, a disease with no cure. Mimi's symptoms advanced unusually quickly over the next few years. She and Pierre still traveled when they could, like one especially memorable trip when they got to visit the Great Wall of China. But Mimi started to need support while walking, and traveling became difficult. She reluctantly paused her nursing career to better look after her health. In just a few short years, Mimi could no longer walk, speak properly, or even use her hands and arms very well. Eventually, Mimi could do little more than use a tablet or pet Samson and Titan, and her days would often drag by. She tried to talk on the phone, or with friends who popped in to visit, but Mimi was often so tired without even doing anything that she couldn't speak clearly and needed to repeat herself to be understood. That only wore her down even more. One day, when Pierre was preparing lunch, he looked across the room at Mimi as she sat alone and somber in her chair, struggling for several minutes to place her drinking tube in her mouth. He had to swallow a lump in his throat as he remembered their years of adventure and how full of life Mimi had always been. That was the day when Pierre first had the idea. He would surprise Mimi with a puppy for her upcoming birthday. Pierre secretly found and arranged to give Mimi what he hoped would be the cutest puppy in history. On the big day, they visited Mimi's favorite uncle and aunt, and her mum joined them for lunch, too. As Pierre placed the puppy on Mimi's lap in a small wrapped box with a flip-top lid, Mimi said, "I have no idea what this is." Just then, the lid popped open and there was the puppy. Mimi started back, and an involuntary "oh" escaped from her lips. Her eyes and mouth were wide as she looked at the fluffy little creature in front of her. The sorrows and loss of recent years rose in Mimi's heart for an instant, and as it sank in that this adorable puppy was her very own, tears welled up in her eyes. The puppy crawled out of the box and up onto Mimi's lap to lick her face excitedly. Mimi's tears quickly gave way to a wide, happy smile, and she was instantly filled with affection for the tiny bundle of fur. She blinked her eyes clear and did her one-armed best to hug the lively puppy close. When Mimi finally caught her breath, she wondered aloud, "What is it?" Pierre answered, "It's a puppy." But of course Mimi meant, what kind of puppy? Pierre told her that she was a miniature Australian shepherd. Her voice still cracking just a bit, Mimi said, "She's so cute." As Pierre and Mimi drove back to their home that afternoon, they set about finding the right name for the cute little pooch. They considered Maple, and Willow, and Lily, and lots of other names. While they were all excellent names, Mimi didn't think any of them fit her puppy. They were almost halfway home when Pierre suggested Phoenix, because there was a woman in the Bible from a place called Phoenicia who would never give up, just like Mimi and her MS. Mimi thought for a second and said, "I really like that." And it stuck. Samson and Titan were waiting at the door to meet their new sister. After a few careful sniffs from Titan, a gentle warning swat from Samson, and one or two excited little yips from Phoenix, everyone went on with their day. That night, Phoenix staked her permanent claim to a sleeping spot on the bed, right up against Mimi. Phoenix gradually grew to be as big as Samson and Titan. Phoenix's favorite indoor pastime was to nip and woof at the cats to encourage them to play. The cats weren't always in a playful mood, but Phoenix never tired of trying, morning to night. Phoenix also loved to ride on Mimi's lap, from the living room to the bedroom at bedtime, or to take an afternoon nap and snuggle with her. Outside on walks, Phoenix would drop puppy-sized sticks just in front of Pierre, then look up expectantly with her differently colored puppy dog eyes. Pierre would laugh and tell Phoenix, "You're too cute," but of course he would always pick up the stick and throw it. Between walks and rounds of fetch, Phoenix would dash after nearby squirrels, or plunk herself down on the water's edge and curiously watch the ducks float by. And of course, if Pierre was going anywhere in the car, Phoenix made it clear with the sweetest little growls and whines that she really should come along and serve as his co-pilot. Although she was eager to run around the yard, Phoenix also enjoyed short wheelchair rides outdoors. She seemed to sense Mimi's pride and pleasure at having her puppy ride or sit on her lap. Between Phoenix's play sessions and rides, she and Mimi would often sit on their dock, very much enjoying each other's quiet company in the sunshine. Though Phoenix added much joy to Mimi's days, the challenges of being sick didn't magically disappear. During particularly difficult times, Mimi would remind herself of three things that helped her. First, Mimi knew that many mommies, daddies, boys, and girls had more serious diseases with harder symptoms than hers, and some families were even losing their loved ones. In comparison to lots of people's situations, Mimi's MS wasn't so bad. Second, Mimi tried to not think too much about being sick. She was grateful for all of the good things in her life. Her home, her family, her friends, and now, a puppy to love and care for. After all, there were still lots of enjoyable things she could do. For example, Mimi loved boat rides and always felt so blessed to enjoy riding in the fresh air with family and friends, furry or otherwise. And third, Mimi believed in God and trusted Him as her Father. She had finally accepted that she might never fully understand why she had gotten so sick so fast. It was like how, when boys and girls don't like a decision their parents have made that hurts for the moment, they still trust Mommy and Daddy. Mimi hoped to not be sick any more soon. But if that didn't happen, she knew she would be all better in heaven. She believed the Bible's promise that one day there won't be any more sickness. Despite the suffering in the world, pretty much everything Mimi had learned about life made the most sense to her if there existed a loving Creator. Several months after Phoenix had joined the family, Pierre was cleaning up in the kitchen before Mimi's afternoon nap. He glanced up at Mimi in her chair as she was trying to take a drink. Pierre was deeply satisfied with how different this sight was from all those months ago. Between efforts to place her drinking tube into her mouth, Mimi was smiling and happily cooing, "Good girl," to Phoenix, who was contentedly lying in her lap. A bit later that afternoon, resting comfortably in bed, Mimi was still smiling as she snuggled up with her canine companion. Being sick was still very challenging in so many ways, but Mimi's days were wonderfully brightened by Phoenix, who had indeed become woman's best friend. And that's why Mimi got a puppy.